It's important to know that virtual queue is not the same as Lightning Lane. It is your turn to wait. That is what it is completely.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I, of course, your host, Allie, here today with Katie and Becki. Good morning. Hello. How are you guys?
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I know it's going to be a good one because we have discovered that Lightning Lanes, multipass, it confuses people. Did you all know that? It's a confusing thing for people that have never been to Disney or that go to Disney all the time. It's a complicated process. It changes a lot. We've already done a couple parks, and today is going to be all about Epcot, one of our absolute faves here on the podcast, and how you can best maximize your use of multipass, Lightning Lanes, virtual queues, all the things for your Epcot day. But before we do, as we sit here and record this, we are within a week of heading to Disney World together. We haven't all been together in so long. I mean, we talk every day, all day, and Smarties know that we all love each other so much, but maybe they don't realize we don't spend a lot of time together, like physically in the same room. And so we're doing it next week. I cannot wait. And maybe by the time this is released, you've all already followed along. But as we're sitting here, I'm excited about it because we're going to the Festival of the Arts. And the only time I've ever really been to the Festival of the Arts, here's my take my Disney card. I was violently ill and we were all actually together. And so this time I'm going to be the picture of health and we're going to go to the Festival of the Arts and I can't wait.
As we're sitting here, the Festival of the Arts is kicking off and I'm not there. I feel like I'm Katie watching Carousel of Progress have their 50-year celebration and you're not there. It just feels wrong.
Yes. It just is so wrong.
But it's gonna be all right with the world here soon because I just this is my favorite festival, even though I was violently ill last time. There's something, it's no secret. I'm very vocal about my love and passion for the arts and the way that Disney threads it into this festival. We talked about it at length on the festival's episode we did for the podcast. I cannot wait. We were just talking, one of the things we're gonna try to do is go see the Broadway performers. I forget who you said, Becki. You're the one that like tracks all this for us. I think you said it was a Frozen and a Lion King performer.
Frozen and Lion King performer. Yep.
Yeah. So Lion King is the best Disney musical that
Oh
there
my
is.
gosh, here we go.
And
Oh my gosh.
Lion King is definitely the best Disney musical that there is. There is no better one. And I am 100% sure. And so I want to see this performance. Katie, don't come at me with Beauty and the Beast or something.
Oh my gosh, I am totally going to come at you with Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast has survived the test of time because that album is so incredible. I have seen Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, not on Broadway, but the Broadway version of it, at least 4 times. It is so great. The scene with the Be Our Guest, they're doing fireworks. It's amazing. It's totally incredible. You are crazy not to think that that's the best one. I don't know what to tell you. I will give you that The Lion King is the best show in Animal Kingdom, even though I kind of disagree. I'll give it to you, but I will not give it to you for best Broadway musical.
The Lion King musical and the way that they do the stampede and everything, it's so great.
So listen though, why is it the way they do the stampede so amazing? Like what about that stands out to you?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I think it's Disney creativity at its best when you go to the Lion King because you're supposed to be on this African savanna with these animals. And the way that they made the animals look multiplied and far away and forward and make it come live onto the stage, it's very thrilling. I've seen Lion King on Broadway a few times now, but the first time I saw it was like 3 months after my grandpa died. I wasn't familiar with the song He Lives in You, and I didn't know it at the time. If you're looking at the entire vault of Disney music, first of all, Katie, I will say Beauty and the Beast music does have a huge special place for me. Tale as Old as Time is a top 3 Disney song for me, honestly, maybe top 2. Circle of Life is also in there. But He Lives in You, the Broadway, that would be like number 1, I think, if you include that and you're not just looking at movie music. It is so emotional. It's so beautiful. It's so well done. Rafiki sings that song in the musical, and that's not the performer that's going to be in Epcot. So I'm not thinking we're going to hear that.
I bet you will. I bet you will still hear it because every year we go and watch this, and every year they have go-to songs that they sing. And whatever show they're coming from, if there's a Broadway version that's not included in the film, they tend to lean into that song. So I bet you do see it. And if they do, Allie's going to be sitting there sobbing, and it's going to be so incredibly magical. But those things you're saying about Lion King on Broadway, I could say the same things about the Nemo show in Animal Kingdom.
Okay, there we go.
Oh my
The
God. No,
puppetry
this
in that is amazing.
It really is.
okay, but as it is in The Lion King, and I respect Finding Nemo, the show at Animal Kingdom is amazing. I'm not trying to like take anything from that show or those performers at all. It is great. But Lion King Broadway is like a masterful, like it is you pulled out all the stops. It's so great. Oh my God. What are your top three? I won't give you a hard time. I'm just gonna listen and not I'm gonna listen and not judge. What are your top three? We listen, we don't judge. Top three Disney songs in the Disney Vault. Can be movie, musical, because I know mine. I know my top three easily. I don't know if I know them in order, but I do know what they are.
I know my top three, but my top three is going to change day to day, unfortunately. I have like a top 10.
Okay, can I just have today's top three?
Today's top three, probably Eye to Eye from Goofy Movie. I absolutely love that song.
I don't know that one.
Goofy Movie soundtrack, so underrated. So underrated.
I agree with that. I don't know that song, but that is an underrated soundtrack.
You don't know Eye to Eye, the
Maybe.
Powerline song? Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I don't know.
I love the Wish soundtrack. I truly love the Wish soundtrack. Listen to the words of the Wish soundtrack. If you are a Disney lover, I don't think the average person would appreciate the Wish soundtrack the level that I do, but I was listening to I'm a Star from the soundtrack this morning, and that's why it's probably at the forefront of my mind. But Wish is such an underrated one as well. I'm gonna have to go Little Mermaid holds the biggest place in my heart. Part of Your World is probably my number one ever, forever and ever song.
That's a good one.
Okay.
What about you, Katie?
My top three, I'm gonna put Go the Distance in there from Hercules.
That's on mine too.
My oldest daughter, literally, as she was taking her first steps, I like to make everything artful and dramatic. It wasn't her very first steps, but it was like in that first few days as she's learning to walk. We were at my dance studio, and I was like, hold on, don't stand her up yet. And I literally played Go the Distance.
Oh my
So
God.
she's like taking these steps. She's like, I am on my way. And she's like taking these steps.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think I've said before on the show that I have a little bit of a background in music, but that doesn't come out very often in my adult life. I recorded myself singing Go the Distance, and back whenever I worked in like a factory setting, one of my bosses got a hold of my recording and like blasted it for the entire production floor.
Wow.
That was a day. I love Go the Distance though because of the inspirational vibe. There's almost nothing like it. I will put that hand in hand with my second pick, which is from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think it's called Out There. And
Oh my gosh. Did you say from Hunchback?
yeah.
Yeah, my daughter did a dance to that last year. We just choreographed it at my dance studio and it was so great. It was like little juniors. We have a little boy and her friends did it. It's such a great song.
Yeah, yeah. Can I just say from a 90s kid's perspective, A Hunchback of Notre Dame is so underrated as a film. The music is great, the plot is great, and it's just not one of these ones that sort of sticks in the forefront of our memory as, oh, I want to go back and revisit that. If you watch it as an adult, though, the plot, you're like, dude, Frollo is evil. Like, he is the most evil.
What else is really good about The Hunchback of Notre Dame is the Broadway. I've seen it on Broadway, and it's not in New York. We saw it in, I guess it would off Broadway, but it was among the best Broadways I've ever seen.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of Disney Broadway left in New York.
Yeah.
But I love that one. And then my final pick, for me, it's a toss-up between Be Our Guest, which has such great show power, like all the theatrics. The song itself is so fun, and there's all of these things happening on stage. It's either going to be Our Guest, or it's going to be Tale as Old as Time from Beauty and the Beast. It has to be Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, definitely Be Our Guest is an all-timer, like for sure. It's not in my top three, but it's an all-timer.
If you think about the love song from Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, let's talk about Tale as Old as Time compared to Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
I don't think Tale as Old as Time is the love song in Beauty and the Beast. I think it's something there.
What? What?
I could agree on that.
Yeah, Tale as Old as Time is like the He Lives in You or The Circle of Life. It's like the monumental movie staple. And I think something there is the love song in Beauty and the Beast. And
Okay,
you're stunned right now
I
because
will
I'm
give you
right.
that, but I don't think that I think that the popular opinion would be Tale as Old as Time is the love song. But comparing one to the other, like I watched The Lion King and I love The Lion King. The love song, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I can't slow dance in the kitchen with my husband to that one. It just feels too cheesy to me.
You're literally slow dancing with your husband in the kitchen. Like, what's not cheesy about that moment? I think it works perfectly.
Okay, all right.
Posted, but I literally just posted yesterday in our Facebook group, right? We have a podcast Facebook community, and I posted a picture of a rock version of Can You Feel the Love Tonight? That's like a 90s rock alternative version that I hadn't heard in a really, really long time. And I was like, I'm dancing in the kitchen to this song. Not romantically with Sean, but this song is amazing. It's pretty epic.
I will say, Be Our Guest. We just saw Be Our Guest done on the Disney Dream. They have Beauty and the Beast. That show is incredible on the Disney Dream.
Truly.
Holy, oh my gosh. Beauty and the Beast on the Disney Dream. Shout out to the cast we saw. Everything about the creatives, amazing. And Be Our Guest. I've seen a million versions of that song performed in some capacity or another. On the Dream, I think it was my favorite I've ever seen. I like it was so good. I love that song. But my top three, Katie, you'll be pleased to know that probably number one, or they're just rotating in this three, Tale as Old as Time, of course. He Lives in You, if we're including Broadway. And then Show Yourself. Elsa, Frozen
Love
2.
that one.
What an incredible moment coming into your power. But I think the best movie soundtrack, and I'm so glad to see this music celebrated in Epcot, which is actually the topic of today's show, Encanto. Best complete soundtrack, start to finish. Every song is power, banger, amazing. We don't talk about, I mean, come on, like it's the best.
Literally the touch of Lin-Manuel Miranda. What he touches just turns to gold because I could say the same thing. Hamilton soundtrack, amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
yeah.
originally Disney, but now Disney owns, right? Moana, amazing soundtrack. So much good. I'm changing my number one answer though. It's not a movie, but the soundtrack from Fantasmic, the entire score, especially that exit music from Fantasmic when Mickey's doing his thing that I'm not going to spoil, but I can feel that music literally in my core.
Pretty epic.
I literally just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're nerds. We love this too much. Okay, so I'm sure Smarties that were folding their laundry or driving or whatever you're doing right now, probably shouting your favorites. You can share those with us. I love to talk Disney music, obviously. We've done Disney movies. We could do a whole episode on Disney music. But I'm so excited to get to Epcot, hear some of this live. And we have a Frozen performer and a Lion King performer. So I'm totally stoked about that. I don't think Show Yourself, maybe we'll hear He Lives in You, but I think Show Yourself isn't in the Disney Broadway. So I doubt we'll hear that. But, wouldn't that be a special treat for me? So I'm really looking forward to diving in, talking lightning lanes at Epcot, park strategy. I know that if you're planning a Disney trip, this is going to be so relevant. You're probably like, whew, I can't wait to learn about how I need to conduct my day. We're going to dive in after we take this quick break. This episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast is brought to you by BabyQuip, the #1 baby gear rental service across the US, Canada, and beyond. There is nothing more difficult for my family with 3 young kiddos than when we are traveling. We're just out of rhythm without our things. We just feel out of step and our kids feel off. It can make our vacation feel so much more stressful than it needs to. With a wide range of baby and toddler equipment available, including cribs, strollers, car seats, toys, and more, BabyQuip helps give us some of that normalcy that our kids crave and we need as parents when we are away from home. When they're happy, we're happy. And by using local quality providers that are often moms, dads, and grandparents just like us and you smarties that are listening today, BabyQuip makes sure that you are working with somebody who understands the needs of your family firsthand. If you need it, they have it. All products follow strict cleanliness and safety protocols and are also insured to give you that extra peace of mind that you need to really enjoy your vacation. With convenient delivery to your location, whether it's a home, a hotel, a vacation rental, wherever you're calling, home away from home, they've got you covered. BabyQuip is available in over 1,500 cities, making it accessible. So whether you're heading to Disney World, Disneyland, or another travel destination, BabyQuip will be there for you. With their easy-to-use online platform, you don't have to stress about getting your products. Head to babyquip.com. Use code SMPOD, that's SMPOD, to get $30 off of any order of $150 or more. That's babyquip.com. Pack light, travel happy. Okay. Jumping back into Lightning Lane Multipass Virtual Queue. If you haven't already listened to our master episode on these topics, you want to do that probably first. Pause this, listen to that, come back, because we really dive into how you make this system work, how you approach it, what it all means. I'm going to do a quick overview on the terminology. Just a refresher course. So if this still sounds a little confusing to you, don't worry, we've got you covered in that other episode. Crash course Cliff Note version terminology. We have multipass, which is the big purchase that you make in your app. That's going to cover all of the lightning lanes. For the purpose of today's episode, you're purchasing multipass for Epcot, park specific Epcot. Even if you're park hopping, you're going to need to buy it for Epcot. Cover that in the other episode. Virtual queue. This is a park that you're going to need to understand what virtual queue is. Rope dropping, course, that's going to be relevant to everything, not just multipass. That's relevant to all the parks, all the days, with or without this lightning lane strategy. And MDE, which is My Disney Experience, the app. We also have a big in-depth episode about the app, but I want to just remind you that all of the things that we're going to talk about today are app specific. You're going to be doing them straight from that My Disney Experience app. So whenever you hear us mentioning My Disney Experience or simply the app, that is what we are talking about. You're going to have to be familiar with it. You're going to have to be able to use it. Okay, we're heading to Epcot. We're going to have the best strategy so we can have the best day, so we can eat and drink around the world, stop and watch performers. And the best way to do it is going to be having our rides already laid out through multipass and single pass and all of those things. Becki, when does this start? When does this begin? I booked my trip a year ago.
You would want to think that it's starting the day that you are showing up at the gates of Epcot, but that is not the case. If you are staying at a Disney resort, you will be starting to plan 7 days ahead of your check-in to that resort. And you don't have to go day to day. You get to open your entire trip for planning your lightning lanes, multipass and single pass, on that 7 day out from check-in. If by chance, though, you are not staying at a Disney resort, you are just coming in for the day or you're staying off-site, that will be 3 days from the start of your ticket. And that also includes if you are an annual pass holder and some other date-based tickets.
This is another huge reason why being on site in that Disney bubble is so important, because you can really see a dramatic difference between that 7 day window of availability for lightning lanes through multipass and 3 days, right? Because if you're an on-site guest, you have a 4 day head start on everybody that's staying off-site. Very important. We're going to look at this from the perspective of an on-site guest so that we don't have to keep being confusing with an either or. But just keep in mind that you're going to want to adjust that from a 7 day period to a 3 day period if you are an off-site guest. I know that can be a little confusing. It's important to know. The other hard thing about Epcot, we talk about this all of the time when we're talking Epcot strategy, is there is an either or factor that you have to really consider with Epcot. It is the only park that acts this way because it has two entrances. So when you are staying on the monorail, or when you are staying at any bus only resort, or if you are staying at any offsite location or driving in, you're using that Epcot main gate. But if you are using a Skyliner or Boardwalk area resort, which would include the Swan Dolphin and Swan Reserve, you are going to be using the international gate at Epcot. And depending on where you're staying and how you're coming to the park, I really feel like the strategy we are going to talk about could change. So I want to acknowledge that either or, because I think it's a hugely important factor in these decisions. So I want to risk not being too confusing for everybody listening, because I really want to leave everybody with a clear understanding of how to tackle Epcot. And I think that's one of the most important things to understand first.
Yeah, I agree. So if you're entering from that back entrance into Epcot, what we're trying to say is you're going to start your day a very different way than who's coming in through the front, right? You're entering basically at the back end of World Showcase. So you're very nearby France Pavilion, also the UK Pavilion. So if that is where you're rope dropping from, obviously you're going to be rope dropping attractions that are nearby that entrance, perhaps Remy, right? But that's not going to be the case for most guests that are entering Epcot that day.
Exactly. That's why I'm going to approach this as an either or if then scenario, but try to primarily focus. If you're entering through the main gate, that'll be our primary focus, but I'm going to try to give you a little tips as well to make sure we say, but if you're here, you might want to consider this instead. As with any multi-pass and single pass across three of the parks, right? Because Animal Kingdom doesn't have tiered groupings of pre-select rides. At Epcot, you are going to have groups. So what that means is when you buy multi-pass, there are two groups of attractions, shows, rides, things that are included within the multi-pass system. Disney has divided them up into groups. And when you are making your pre-select at that 7-day mark for all on-site guests, you get to choose one attraction from group one and two attractions from group two in that pre-select window. Group one at Epcot will be Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Soarin' Around the World. So you have three group one attractions. You can only pre-select one of them. Then for group two, you have Disney and Pixar Film Festival, Journey into the Imagination with Figment, Living with the Land, Mission Space, The Seas with Nemo and Friends, Spaceship Earth, and Turtle Talk with Crush.
I want to add two other rides that you might be like, why are we not talking about this? One of them is Guardians, which is not included in multi-pass. That is single pass or virtual queue only. And then the second one is Test Track. Like, where's Test Track on this? Test Track is currently closed, getting refurbished, getting a new theming to it. But I think we could probably agree that when Test Track does reopen, it's going to be a group one, right?
I would say group one. I would hope group one based on the attractions that Epcot has. Like, it's not a super strong lineup, to be honest. Like, I love the attractions at Epcot. I think there's a lot to do, but group two is kind of weak.
I wish that they would, when Test Track comes back, my own wish is that Soren would move down to group two and Test Track would
That's
place.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I hope that's what happens. I hope what doesn't happen is Test Track become like a single pass or something. I think that would be a bummer. I don't think that's what'll happen, and this is of course all speculation. My hope would be Soarin' drops and Test Track enters. But we'll see.
Mhm.
So we're not going to talk about Test Track today because we don't have any sort of reopening information on that, and we don't know what that will look like when it's time. So we're not going to even mention it. So if you're entering through the main gate, when you're thinking about your Epcot day, and you're thinking, when am I going to get to Epcot? Am I a rope dropper? You know, my family isn't really a reliable rope dropping family, but a lot of families, especially those that are using multi-pass and planning these vacations, they are. You want to get every minute out of your park day, get your money's worth, get as many attractions in as you can. So we're going to look at this from the perspective of rope dropping. Rope dropping is when you arrive at the park, and especially for on-site guests, because you get early entry as an on-site guest. So if the posted wait time for Epcot is 9 a.m., on-site guests are going to get like a 30-minute buffer. Your entry time is going to be more like 8:30. But then even more so, rope dropping is getting there even before 8:30. You're probably arriving by like 8 and starting to get through security and starting to get in, and then you're being held back at ropes by a cast member until that rope dropping time, 8:30, and you're running to your attraction.
No one's running in a Disney park, Allie. No one is running. This week, I'm sure that you guys have probably heard it from others, but people do run in the parks and you're not allowed to. This week, I was taking a picture of my girls. It was very obvious we were standing on the side of the castle. I'm about to snap a picture, and I was taking a step back to snap the picture. And at that time, teenage boys were full speed running and ran into me. And I was like, where the heck are your parents? Sorry. Don't run in the parks.
You know, I do that. You're not allowed to run, but we're trying to get where we're going. So our knees are bent and we're doing that deep plie bent leg walk, like trying to get where we're going really fast, but you're not running. So if you're entering, I'm going to just start quickly and say if you're entering from the World Showcase entrance, that Skyliner Boardwalk entrance, 100%, it is my opinion that you are not doing group one pre-select for Remy. Okay, that is going to be a waste of your group one because you are going to enter in rope drop Remy. You're going to be held right on the bridge that goes from the entrance over into the France Pavilion. As soon as rope drop opens, you're being let through and you're heading to Remy and you're going to ride it before the park even opens officially. So, Skyliner and Boardwalk guests, don't waste group one on Remy. Everybody else, group one pre-select, you're probably going to be playing with either Frozen or Remy. Is it your opinion that Soarin' would be maybe a waste of group one?
Yes, as a pre-select for sure, because Frozen and Remy are the two that are going to sell out pre-selects. And for me personally, I'm looking at if I'm coming in the main gate, I'm probably going to rope drop Frozen and get my group one Remy's in the back of the park. If I'm coming in the international gate, I'm going to rope drop Remy's and get Frozen as my group one.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. Soarin' is an amazing attraction. It's a very popular ride, and you are going to want a lightning lane for it because that wait time can get out of control.
I do have a caveat to that though. If you are a sleep-in family and are not going to be there for rope drop and coming in the main gate, it might be worth grabbing Frozen as your number one, even through the front gate.
I agree with you. So, from the perspective of a rope dropping family, entering International Gate, you're going to get Group 1 Frozen and rope drop Remy. Entering from Main Gate, you're going to get Group 1 Remy, rope drop Frozen. It is our recommendation based on how the times sell out and how quickly they go, that if you are not going to arrive for rope drop, you really target Frozen as your Group 1 because that is the one that we see more often than not go away first. There's a little bit of an aversion to Remy's with some guests with the 3D, and it kind of can be nausea inducing. So while it is really popular, Frozen, I think, is like a heavy hitter 100% for all guests. And you've got everybody sort of targeting it. So that's kind of why I think that's the best way to strategize those. And then based on that strategy, you have already rope dropped and grabbed Group 1 for one of those rides. And then boom, you're going to be able to get Soarin' in your next selection. So there's going to be times for that. I don't think I've ever seen it really sell out and not be able to get it early in the day. So that's a great strategy for your Group 1. I really wouldn't stress it. For Group 2, it's kind of my opinion that your Group 2 select is just filler because the way MultiPass works is as soon as you scan in for your first attraction, and it is going to be your goal to get your Group 1, whichever one we just advised you to get, it's going to be your goal to get it for as early in the day as possible. Because as soon as you scan in for your Group 1, the group system, or anything, as soon as you scan in for your Group 2, as soon as you scan in for your first lightning lane, the grouping system essentially goes away. So even if you scan in for a Group 2 and you haven't ridden your Group 1 select, you can still get another Group 1. So you could start having 2 Group 1s in your lightning lane lineup. I hope that doesn't sound too confusing. This is why the multi-pass system is tough and we like to do these episodes. Because the group system, take it out of your brain once you arrive at Disney World. It is only for purposes of pre-select. That is when that matters. Once you arrive, attractions are attractions. So scan in for your first lightning lane, Group 1 or 2, and then boom, you're getting Soarin'. If you scan in for your Group 1 and you still have your Group 2s, you can modify. You can start to really play with it and start to stack in ways that are going to benefit you.
I have a little bit different take on which one you should put as your first one. I think Group 1 is definitely the priority to get. But honestly, my opinion, if I'm going to use multipass, I'm going to take into account where am I spending my morning and whatever the earliest of those rides is that I'm going to be doing, take whatever the earliest is. And that might be Journey into Imagination with Figment at whatever time it, right?
Yes.
Whatever you can scan into to open it because you want to ride all 3 of those Group 1. And if you only got to ride those 3 Group 1 rides with connection to a virtual queue for Guardians, you had an amazing ride day, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. It's a great point. You want to just try to be strategic with these pre-selects, especially specifically in Epcot, because let's be real, nobody needs a lightning lane for the Disney and Pixar Film Festival, right? Nobody needs that.
Yeah. In reality, Group 2, very few of those you need to stand in line at all. A lot of those are walk-ons. Turtle Talk with Crush, you just have to wait for the next show, really, unless it's a really, really crazy busy time. What did we see? The week of Christmas to New Year's, Remy's line was to Morocco and the line for the 3 Caballeros was to Norway or something. Like it was out of control during that week.
Yeah.
But in a regular, any other time of the year, you can basically walk on The Seas with Nemo and Friends. You can basically walk on Journey into Imagination with Figment. So many of these are typically walk-in lines.
Yeah. There's a strategy of knowing in the middle of the day, even the attractions that are usually like a walk-on or a 5 to 10 minute wait can get up to, I don't know, a half hour. If you're there during the point of the day where it's a half hour, I would maybe snag a lightning lane for it. But whenever I'm approaching lightning lanes, I'm not talking about in your pre-selection phase. I'm talking about after you're in the parks. This is where it comes back to looking at the map and really knowing the layout of Epcot before you make those pre-selections and then how you go about your day. I don't want to do more than 1 lap around the park. It is a very large, expansive park. So, the same way that Becki was saying, her strategy is I'm going to grab the lightning lane that is in the soonest time slot, depending on where I'm going to be that morning. That is the approach that I would take too, because if I know I'm starting my morning in World Showcase, then I'm going to say, okay, we're going to start in France, and then we're going to come up to around the east side, and we're going to hit Frozen. I'm basically planning out my path for the day. If I'm starting at the top, at the main gate, with little kids, I do spend a lot of time at Epcot outside of World Showcase. So what that usually looks like for my family is we may be starting over by Journey into Imagination with Figment, then we hit the Land Pavilion, then we hit the Seas with Nemo. We go around that way and all the way back into ending World Showcase at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a great point. And trying to understand your path is such a key to understanding anything with multipass. Epcot is such a unique park for multipass because we're saying, like Becki, you said, group 2 really isn't heavy hitters all day for these lines.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I am still a person that would say I would still buy multipass for Epcot.
I would too.
Because the lines that are long are long. And if you can knock all of them out, like what a banger day at Epcot, just hanging out in World Showcase and not waiting for any lines for these really amazing headliner attractions. I mean, they really are great rides. So I think the most important factor is really determining what that opening part of your day looks like. Where are you entering? So it's like an if-then grid, where are you entering? If this, then this. And then how to modify to get the other one and what you rope drop. So as long as you start that way, I think your day is really set up for success.
We as, Disney experts know that, like you said, we're not going to be grabbing a lightning lane for Disney and Pixar Film Festival, right? There's not a lot of attractions at Epcot that you're going to necessarily need a lightning lane for. But whenever you're actually in an Epcot day, where are you waiting? You're waiting in lines around World Showcase for characters that you can't get a lightning lane for. And you're waiting in line at those kitchen booths that are all around World Showcase to get food and drinks for each festival. So you're already doing a lot of waiting in your day anyway that you cannot get a lightning lane for. So sometimes if you're actually using a lightning lane for Disney and Pixar Film Festival, I think that's okay too.
Yeah, it's a great point because honestly, at that point, after I've waited, because we've talked at length about how good of a character park Epcot is. At that point, if I've waited a combined hour plus for characters at Epcot and festival booths, which will be long, and I can skip a 10-minute wait for Nemo and just literally walk into my shell, I'm happy to skip that. You know what I mean? If I can avoid a 10-minute wait after waiting all day, I'm happy to skip that because it truly will just be I'll walk into my shell.
Yep.
So that's a great strategy to look at. Now, the most important Epcot piece of this puzzle we have yet to really discuss is this is not like a what's the best Disney Broadway musical or movie question where there's differing opinions, okay? What is the best Disney attraction ever of all time?
Carousel of Progress.
No. No, it's the other spinning, rotating ride.
You mean Mission Space?
Yeah, Mission Space.
Everybody get out. Everybody leave. Guardians of the Galaxy. We talk all the time. We mention it all the time. I will never stop shouting it. It's like my favorite thing to do in life is ride that ride. Like I just love it. I get giddy when I'm talking about it. I can't wait to ride it with people that have never ridden it. I'm going to ride it next week so many times. I'm going to drag y'all to Epcot. I'm going to drag y'all to Epcot. You don't even know this yet. One of you, not me, one of you is going to wake up every day and get a virtual queue. And we're going to Epcot every day to ride Guardians. We're going to pop in and ride Guardians.
Allie, you have always said that your Disney favorite thing is the resort and the view from your resort.
Yeah.
I really think your Disney why is Guardians. You've cared way more about Guardians than about our view at the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, I don't even know what view we're staying in, if I'm being honest.
That's how much it matters to you, apparently.
Yeah, I honestly don't. And now I'm worried because now I just realized I haven't thought about it. Are we gonna have like a parking lot view?
This is so funny.
I will not love that. So now I truly need to check. But no, it's true. Disney Guardians has like kind of taken over my spirit. Like that's a good question. I wonder if I was faced with okay, you can ride Guardians twice a day, every day on your trip, and stay at Value Resort, which I do love, by the way. I'm not trying to poo-poo those. I do love them very much. Or stay at the Poly and not ride Guardians at all. That would be a very hard choice for me, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're staying value.
I do love Guardians. I mean, wow.
If you were gonna only get to do one thing, like you're flying down from Ohio to Orlando, you're gonna go to Disney for 3 hours and then you're gonna go home. Is Guardians the only thing that's your priority? Is that what you would do?
Yeah. And then I would probably buy a park hopper though and take the Skyliner over and do Tower of Terror once too. But yes, Guardians. I
And
tried to do Guardians twice.
my only thing that I would prioritize, I guess I could do a similar hop there, but Phantasmic is that for me. If I could
Yeah.
only do one thing, it would be Phantasmic. But
Yeah.
Guardians is so good. And the virtual queue, I do wish we had a standby line for it, but
It would be like a 3 hour wait.
it really would. I understand why they haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would literally be a 3 hour wait, and rightfully so. And I just, it's such an accomplishment of an attraction. Even still in the pre-show rooms, I'm like bound, like I'm giddy. I'm so pumped every time. It's not old yet. It's not unexciting yet.
Are you still watching the show or are you watching the people? Like I watch people's reactions at this point.
A little bit of both, but I'm honestly just getting amped because I know it's coming. Like I'm like, oh, we're so close. I can't wait. It's that good. I can't, it's impossible to overstate. Like my brother and his family just went. My niece got to dance at Magic Kingdom over the holidays and they went and they hadn't been since Guardians opened. And I just was talking to them like this. I'm like, wait till you ride it. I want you to call me right after, like right after. You have to call me right after. And it had to be getting annoying at some point. But my brother has this Disney persona where it's like, oh, you can tell. Like Allie and her brother are definitely related. They get the same type of amped about Disney. And he couldn't believe it. Like we talked about it like over Christmas. We talked about it like for an entire day, just nonstop about how good it was and the
Mhm.
different songs and how it was like the best. You can't overstate it. It doesn't disappoint. So, all of that to say, we've already gotten our group 1 and 2. We know what we're doing. You have to have a plan for Guardians of the Galaxy. It has to be in your plan. It is not
Mhm.
included in MultiPass. The way you're going to ride Guardians, you can get 2 rides, and I'm just going to go ahead and say you're going to want 2 rides because one will just not be enough. Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot operates on single pass, Lightning Lane single pass, and virtual queue. The way that works is Lightning Lane single pass is something you purchase on its own. You can purchase it with or without multipass. You do not have to have multipass to purchase a single pass. You can just choose to buy that, although it's our recommendation you buy both. You could buy that at that 7 days before check-in mark if you're an on-site guest, 3 days if you're an off-site guest. Buy the single pass. I guess my question is, what time do you buy the single pass for Guardians of the Galaxy? How does it fit into your strategies?
This is going to come down to where you're entering the park from, right? If I'm entering the park from the main gate like everybody else, I'm scheduling that for the morning. If it's not the very first thing that I do in the morning, it's going to be very early in the day. It's going to be before I'm heading into World Showcase for the day. I'm trying to grab a time slot for early in the morning. If you're entering from the back,
Yeah, if you're entering from the back, you're pretty far from Guardians of the Galaxy. So if you're purchasing a single pass, I'm going to do it for probably way later in the day. I'm going to enjoy my morning. I'm going to rope drop Remy, have my pass for Frozen, start to explore and work my way towards Guardians. I definitely don't want to run to Guardians from the international gate if I don't have to.
no.
Especially if I've spent the money on the single pass, you're kind of doing that to avoid. So that's great. You're avoiding the run.
I would
Mhm.
probably put my single pass around lunchtime, right before lunch, because I also am going to try for a virtual queue. If I'm going to be up there for a virtual queue, I'm going to do the front half of the park in the morning, and I don't want to have to come back later in the day. So
Yeah.
I think doing it right before going and having an awesome lunch in World Showcase makes logical sense for my family.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where there's no wrong answer. I mean, you could just get it for late and be like, it's the last thing we're going to do before fireworks. It really
Mhm.
doesn't matter. But if you want to avoid running all around the park, then it's going to be that if then scenario. Where are you entering? What are you prioritizing? And how can you fit Guardians in? Because it is in the front part of the park, really, really isolated out there by, far away from World Showcase, truly.
Another piece of this conversation with Guardians in connection to virtual queue in particular, Virtual queue is great because it allows everybody to have the chance to get a ticket and ride included in their regular park admission. However,
Mhm.
virtual queue does not get you to the front of the line. Virtual queue is just giving you a time to join the line, and sometimes that virtual queue line will take an hour.
Yeah. It's important to know that virtual queue is not the same as lightning lane. It is your turn to wait. That is what it is completely. I still recommend doing both because one ride won't be enough. So the way virtual queue works, that is not a pre-plan. Virtual queue is a day of scenario. So the morning of your Epcot park, you already have your single pass and your multi-pass selections in your app. You're ready to go rock at Epcot. Before you go, at 7 a.m., you're going to be entering the virtual queue via the My Disney Experience app. So you're refreshing the page, join, join that virtual queue, and it just spits out a number at you. You have no control. We've had intentions of going to the park later in the day and then getting like a first thing in the morning, like group boarding group one for a virtual queue, you know?
Yep. The thing about virtual queue compared to buying the single pass for it is with single pass, you're deciding I would like to be on this ride at this time. With virtual queue, you don't really have any say in that. So if you're joining the virtual queue in the morning and you get a boarding group number, you don't know exactly when your group is going to be called back. It's going to tell you in the app when they estimate that you're going to get called back. You're going to get a push notification that says, hey, your boarding group has been called. You can join the queue now. But it throws a monkey wrench into your day because you don't know exactly when your group is going to be called. The other thing that I want to point out about virtual queue is if you miss it the first time around at 7 a.m., you do have the opportunity of joining the virtual queue again at 1 p.m. if you are inside Epcot at that time. The other thing, though, about virtual queue is just because you get a boarding group number does not guarantee that you get on the ride. So let's say at 1 p.m. you join the virtual queue and you get a boarding group number, and it's a much later in the day boarding group number. If you get one of the last boarding groups of the day and they're behind that day, there's a possibility that you don't get to ride the ride. Like that's just when you would join the queue. And if your boarding group isn't called until after the park closes, then you're not getting on the ride, right? That's why Lightning Lane Single Pass is really important for this one, I think.
Also, with the virtual queue, it's important to think about if you are coming in the morning, if you're not the rope drop family and you're not going to get there until 11:30 or you're getting there around lunchtime, trying for a 7 a.m. virtual queue might be counterproductive for what you're going to do because you don't want the stress of having your virtual queue time or boarding group number to be called before you are actually at the park. That 1 o'clock time, you do have to be in the park in order to join that 1 o'clock virtual queue. So the demand of joining that virtual queue, and I'm really going to lean in to say, if virtual queue is giving you anxiety, giving you stress, go listen to our dedicated Lightning Lane details that's going to break all of this down to very, very granular conversation on how to best strategize things like virtual queue.
Yeah. And I know we've really kind of leaned into this if then scenario and how this looks in virtual queue and all of that. And it may sound complicated, but in all reality, if you really just break this down to its bare bones, Epcot is the easiest park to strategize your multi-pass for. Get the single pass, get the virtual queue, pick your group one based on where you're entering, get your group twos. It really doesn't matter. Get the earliest times you can, maybe close to where you're entering for easy scanning and start your modifications back into group one selections as soon as you start scanning. And that sounds a little confusing. It's really not. You got it. If you're going to Epcot, you've got it. It's a very clear path to success, I think, with multipass at Epcot. Are there any other combos that you might choose, or would you grab anything in a specific order? I mean, I really think this is what makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate for my family, we are not rope droppers. So I'm going to prioritize either Frozen or Remy's, and then I'm going to choose whatever the two earliest that are going to fit within my family's timeline that I can scan into based on where I'm going to be and essentially scan in to ride the ride or maybe not ride the ride, right? Maybe you scan in for Pixar Film Festival and you don't actually go do it, but it opens the ability to grab another group one ride. Because if you invest in multipass Lightning Lane, you get the ability to try to grab other things and people will be dropping things. We're still going to talk about those things, but if you get the 3 group one rides, like I've said, I think you're going to feel like you've had a successful day. So even if you're just investing for those 3 reasons and then skipping the 5-minute line for Nemo as needed.
Right, exactly.
I fully agree.
Yeah, all of these rides are worth riding. So that's kind of the way that this looks when you're making your selections. We're going to take one more quick break and then we're going to talk about the itinerary, how you put it into action and actually use it. What does it look like on the actual day? How will it work in your benefit? And you're going to see this is going to be so super easy and you're going to have a great day. We're going to jump into our Friend Like Me segment. Again, get to know some other Smart Mom travel agent friends of ours, colleagues, and join them in their communities on Instagram and on Facebook. We know you're scrolling. Stop that scroll. And hey, while you're doing that, go ahead and find us in our online communities. We've got a Facebook group at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast and Instagram. You can get in there, interact with us, ask your questions, give your feedback on an episode. We like all of it. And like and subscribe if you have not already. Leaving a podcast review with 5 stars is absolutely the best way that you can possibly help this podcast. We love doing it. And when you support us in that quick, free, and easy way, it helps us keep doing it. Recently, we got a 5-star review from Danielle L. And she said, love the podcast. I appreciate how authentic you all are in sharing different perspectives based on your own personal experiences. I also appreciate the diversity in perspectives based on the differences in families. That's exactly what we love to hear. We love offering different voices. We are from different families, different places, and we have kids with different ages. We know our listeners are feeling that as well, and hopefully you find somebody that you relate to that makes a lot of sense for your family. Jump in there, let us know what you think. Share this episode with a friend. Listen a little bit about our friends. When we come back, we're going to talk about that itinerary. It is no secret, Disney's Polynesian Resort has my heart, and it has our friends over at Smart Moms Plan Disney's Polynesian Resort's hearts as well. Kellie runs this group, and she has stayed at all of the Disney resorts. She agrees with me, Polynesian is the best one. If you're looking for convenience, ambiance, kids theming, great food, Disney magic, this resort is for you. You will learn all the ins and outs of things to do at the resort, how to pick the right room, how to pick the right view, what to do on the down day, and more. That is Smart Moms Plan Disney's Polynesian Resort on Facebook. All of you smarties that live in the New York or surrounding area, this one's for you. You have got to join our friends at Smart NY Moms Plan Disney, Universal, and beyond. Our friend Frances in there is a mom of 2 teenage girls and a lifelong New Yorker. She's a special education teacher that offers a very unique perspective of planning when you're from the New York area. Thinking of taking that long drive, trying to figure out how to navigate the best flights and what week is going to be the best to go. Well, the people in this group have already figured it out. Join them for all of their shenanigans and fun at Smart NY Moms Plan Disney, Universal, and beyond on Facebook. All right, so we already talked about the order in which you're going to grab things, and now you have added more of our friends to your feed, and next week's episode is going to drop right into wherever you listen because you just turned on those automatic downloads, and so we're so grateful that you just did that. Thank you so much. Here is how your day is going to look when you're at Epcot and you're using MultiPass. It's the morning of the park day. Probably, if you're the one listening to this podcast, you're probably the Disney planner in your family. So you probably got up really early and got yourself ready and laid out your kids' clothes, maybe even laid out your spouse's clothes. If it's me, I've already packed the stroller with the water bottles for the day and everything we're going to need. I like to get everything done before I even wake any of my family up. So I can literally just wake them up, tell them to put their clothes on, brush their teeth, and we are out the door. I probably wake them up about, if we're rope dropping, probably about 6:45. Because then as they're slowly and groggily starting to wake up, it's 7 a.m. and what am I doing but grabbing a virtual queue, right? So the first thing I'm prioritizing on a park day is getting ready. And then 7 a.m., snag that virtual queue. By the time I'm finished with that, we are all ready. We do that last check and we're ready to head out the door and get to our transportation because it is in your best interest to be heading to transportation. What do you think, Becki?
Probably an hour before you intend to be in the park would be my recommendation. And Allie's saying she's prioritizing getting ready. I am not. I am prioritizing virtual queue. That might be interrupting my getting ready because getting ready can be flexible. Virtual queue cannot. If you are not on the app at 6:55 watching it count down to 7 a.m., you're not going to get a virtual queue.
Let me be clear. I'm prioritizing getting ready because I'm already ready. by 6:45. Like there's nothing left to do. I'm ready to rock, okay? Because everybody knows that I have my international world clocks open and I'm counting the milliseconds and you are refresh, refresh, refresh. I mean, I have both phones. We've got picture and video evidence of me like hovering over the bed with all the phones. You know, it's that important. You cannot delay. You delay 1 second, you're not getting that virtual queue. I'm telling you, build it into your morning. Yes, if you're not quite ready, you're going to want to stop getting ready. You can't give yourself that extra grace of 5 minutes. You don't have it. 7 a.m., you're getting your virtual queue. And an hour before you want to be inside the park, you are heading to transportation. So if that's a bus, if it's the Skyliner hub, especially if you're staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation, you're going to have to transfer to the Epcot line at Caribbean Beach, which is where the Skyliner hub is. And so you really want to make sure you are strategizing and planning out your transportation well. So give yourself that padded time of an hour. We already talked that on-site guests are going to get an early start in the park, which is when you're going to be doing that rope drop. If you're an on-site guest, you're getting in 30 minutes before posted regular time. So go ahead and just assume that if it's 9 a.m. open, 8:30. If it's 8:30 open, 8 a.m. Whatever it is, 30 minutes early, you're getting in. And if you're staying off property or coming from any monorail resort or bus resort, you are entering through the main gate. And if you're staying on the Skyliner or the boardwalk, you're coming in through the international gate. So we've already talked a lot about what your strategy looks like and how you're putting it to use if you're coming through those ports. You know what's another really interesting thing that's important to know about your itinerary for Epcot? We've talked a lot about the Skyliner and the boardwalk if you're walking, but if you're staying on the monorail, you actually have a little bit of a perk over off-site guests and bus-only guests because you've already done your security check by the time you arrive at Epcot. So you're going to not go through the security lines at Epcot, which especially in the morning is a big time saver because you do your security check to get on the monorail. So everybody on the monorail has already gone through security clearance. So by the time you get to Epcot, you're going straight to the main gate. So you do have a bit of a head start on bus and driver guests that are coming in that main gate with you.
Yeah, let me just say, as a mom of little ones who is coming in from offsite, and I drove there, and my kids are screaming in the back seat for the last 30 minutes, and I'm pulling up there with my double stroller, and I'm waiting in a line to go through security, and I see the people coming down the ramp from the monorail, and they're just walking over into the ticketing area. I'm like, gosh, I wish I was staying at a monorail resort.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're gonna get stopped because your battery pack sets off the metal detector, or if you're gonna get stopped because your sunglass case sets off the metal detector, I mean those things happen. And we talked about how pro tip, take those out of your bag before you go through the metal detector. If that's going to happen, it's already happened by the time you arrive at the park if you're staying on the monorail. You know, it happened to get on the monorail. Now you just get to walk in. So you're going in and everybody's going their different directions, and it's probably people are doing pretty similar things, right? Frozen is a popular rope drop option for coming in main gate. Remy is the option when you're coming in international. So you're going to be stuck at that little rope drop area and then you're going to ride. And as soon as you scan in, with your first lightning lane, you are going to schedule your next one. So whether that's modifying a group 2, or whether that's just snagging another group 1, or whether that is just going ahead and snagging the next, you know, whatever that looks like based on the information we gave you above, you're doing it as soon as you scan in. So you're not doing it after you ride your rope drop ride. You're doing it after you scan into your lightning lane ride. I think that's important to know. And then you can kind of plan out which areas you're going to visit based on maybe your dining reservations, or at this point, you have your virtual queue boarding group, and in your app, it'll say estimated return time. Of course, that can vary, but you've got at least now an estimate, and you know when your single pass time is. So you have a lot more knowledge at this moment than you had when you did your 7-day pre-planning. So now with dining reservation times, single pass times, virtual queue estimates, and multi-pass times, you have a really good shell of what your day is going to look like, and you can start to navigate the direction you're going to travel, whether you're in World Showcase or hanging toward the front of the park. And it's not really anything to stress about. I think that sounds really stressful because it's an unknown thing today. But once you're standing in the park and you have all of these times and all of these factors, it really becomes less stressful.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean in also on recommending, like you had all said, like keep 3 attractions in your lightning lane multipass at all
Mhm.
time. Once you scan in, get that next one. But unlike other parks, I almost feel like you need to give yourself buffers. Like if you're coming up on an attraction, you had a group two for something, and you have found yourself or your kids really excited about something else happening in the park, Epcot is that park that those other things will be happening in. Maybe
Mhm.
you decided to join in on the collective art exhibit that you get to actually paint little squares and it's interrupting the time that you have for your multipass. Like let your kids experience the other things at Epcot and don't feel like you constantly have to be running from ride to ride to ride in this place because there's so many places, nooks and crannies, and things that are built into the festivals in particular that
Mhm.
can really make the best memories.
With Epcot, you want to expect the unexpected and allow for spontaneity. So often I hear people say, "Is it really worth it to have multipass at Epcot?" Well, it's true what you said, Becki, that a lot of these lines aren't going to be super long, but it's also true that this park is one where you want to be able to turn the corner and have something unexpected happen. And knowing that you're not going to have to wait in lines, regardless if it was 20 minutes or 2 hours, means that you feel a lot more comfortable stopping to paint, stopping
Mhm.
to draw chalk. Do you know what I mean? Stopping to see the topiaries, depending on what time of year you are. Stopping to have that specialty snack that you didn't anticipate was going to be there. These are the
Mhm.
things that you really want with Epcot. And the other thing is this isn't something you can necessarily count on because it's not a guaranteed thing in the app, but all of the time there are random pop-up characters at Epcot. I've talked before about how I was randomly walking in World Showcase and the Evil Queen was there. It was like, oh no, it was Maleficent. I'm sorry. Maleficent was just there. And it was like, what are you doing here, Maleficent? Like you're not supposed to be here, but there she was. And she was just meet and greeting. And I had a family I worked with who last week just sent me a picture of Stitch. Stitch was just in World Showcase. Why? No idea. Because things like that happen
Mhm.
at Epcot. And when you don't have to worry about waiting in line, you know that you can just enjoy things like that are likely to happen.
You hit the nail on the head so hard for this because even though I'm a local now and we go to the parks all the time, I am still that mom that's like, we got to get all this stuff done in a day. Like, let's just keep trucking, right? And I find it hard just in my personality to say, oh, we want to stop right now and watch the drum show. Okay, we're going to stop and watch the drums in Japan. But now that I am allowing those moments to happen, and I have to phrase it that way as me as a mom, I have to allow that because it's not in my nature to say, let's just stop and watch a drum show. Like I'm like, dude, we gotta book it down to Remy. No, recently my kids and I were in Epcot and we were walking by the Japan pavilion and I'm on a mission to get down to France, okay? And the drum show starts and my kids are like, "Mommy, can we dance?" And I said, "Okay, let's stop and dance." So they stayed the whole length of the show and all of these other little girls came up and were dancing with them too, and it was such a cool moment, and I was like, I was going to blow right by this, and my kids really had a special time doing it. And then after that, we took the time to explore the Japan pavilion, which I have never done before. And I was like, I think I understand Epcot now.
That is it. It's around every corner is something that you want to experience. Epcot is about experience, and MultiPass allows you to have that and not miss out on the Disney factor of attractions.
And you can be that mom who wants to have an agenda and wants to hit all of the things. This is the beauty of our relationship on this podcast is we're so vastly different because I'm the exact opposite of what Katie just explained. I'm the mom that's like, I don't care if we get on a single ride, guys. There's so much to do here. We're just gonna go with the flow. Probably to the to the point that I annoy people how just like, yeah, we can, sure, whatever. But we also walk the walk in this. Like we don't just say that Lightning Lane is and multipass and single pass is worth it. We actually invest in this ourselves. We don't benefit as agents for you investing in this.
Not at
This
all.
is our own opinion. Like we don't get commission. We don't get any kind of anything other than we know that this is going to save you some sanity. And time is so important, as is the money that we work for. And so you have to find the balance for that. And so, really, when it comes down to it, when I'm talking with my clients about it, it comes down to Lightning Lane is not always going to get you right to the front of the line. You might have a tiny little 5 minute wait at the front or whatever. But where do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend your time racking up all of those time standing in the queue? Or do you want to spend your time out people watching with your kids, letting them
Drumming.
experience those things, like
Yeah.
seeing characters that randomly pop up, like allowing those things? That's what this investment is an investment in letting your time be magic rather than letting your time be standing in a
Yeah,
queue.
we're just so we are passionate about this. Like it's not we don't benefit monetarily from talking people into using multipass. You know what I mean? I truly want to talk people into using multipass because like what Katie just said, we go all the time, but I'm that mom that's like, we got to get it all in. I don't want that for anybody. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to
Yep.
feel that sort of rushing stress. It ruins it. It like puts this film on your day that just kind of takes some of the magic from you. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Epcot is sort of divided, and I just want to say what that must-do thing in every area is, okay?
Mhm.
Epcot has divided the front of the park newly into like, I don't even know all the names off the top of my head all the time, but you have World Nature, which is the area to your right when you enter the park. The must-do there, people love living with the land, but I think the real
I do.
must-do my wife would say living with the land, but I think the must-do attraction priority is probably Soarin'.
Soarin' is a rite of passage.
I agree. It's so spectacular. And I heard that they're fixing it so that nobody sees a slanted Eiffel Tower. Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not hear that, but I'm glad to hear about it.
Yeah,
I've heard there's already been some updates, so we have to ride Soarin' when we're there next week so we can report back on what this actually looks like. So I
yeah.
don't think any of us have seen the
Are you
update.
gonna ride Living with the Land with me too?
You mean you're riding with me because this is my ride?
If we have if we have multi-pass, I'll ride. Otherwise, I'm out. I'm gonna go rock with the Jameters. Okay, so World Discovery, obviously Guardians. That's not just a World Discovery must ride. That is a Disney World must ride. World
I don't
Celebration.
know. Wait a minute, wait a minute. You glossed right over Becky's like favorite attraction. You can't do that.
Are you saying Mission Space?
Yeah.
Good God.
Well, I can't say it's my favorite, but I really do like it.
I'm gagging thinking about it. Terrible. Oh God, worst six hair. Don't even think about it.
But if you have a kid who loves NASA
Then
and
go
like
to
space,
yeah, go eat at Space
you
220.
have to go.
No, go eat at Space 220.
Oh, you're so funny. So with my family, because we have little ones, whenever I'm riding Guardians, the rider swap situation is I'm taking one of the kids and we're going on Guardians, and my husband is taking the other ones and riding Mission Space because they love it.
Keeping moving in World Celebration. Spaceship Earth is the Epcot ball ride. When well, first of all, somewhere in that ride, there is an animatronic wearing a big old jasmine bow. I talked about this jasmine bow on our last episode too, when we were talking about Disneyland. My daughter had this amazing jasmine bow, and we kept that thing for years. And my younger daughter wore it years later at Epcot when we did like a whole Aladdin theme. We loved this darn bow, and she threw it out of the ride car. And I will never forget it. And it's totally gone. And I'm like, every time I'm there, I'm like, some animatronic got my daughter's handmade jasmine bow because my 1-year-old threw it out. And for any Smart Moms travel agents listening today, we'll go ahead and make the hidden Mickey bow. And so if anybody sees jasmine bow, it's mine. But but my
You're
kids
not bitter
love
about that at all.
no, my kids love Spaceship Earth. It's boring but also interesting. It's like
Aww.
it's worth it. I mean, I like writing it. It is kind of boring, but it's also kind of fun. It's also kind of cool.
It's the edutainment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Spaceship Earth is my jam. Like, edutainment is what I watch. That is my TV. Like, so to have a ride that is that whole angle. I actually recently, I rode it with my family. And then after the kids got off, I was like, Matt, I want to ride it again by myself. Will you take the kids? And I want to go ride Spaceship Earth by myself. And he did. That's how much I love it.
I can't.
You'll get to learn to thank the Phoenicians. Like that's an if you know, you know kind of situation, right?
Exactly.
There's call outs there. And there's other things in World Celebration I might call out. Like if the Encanto show is still going on, that's a great thing for your kids to be entertained by in that area. There's great shopping in World Celebration as well.
Yeah.
I love to hang out in World Celebration and just kind of vibe, which is not usually a Katie thing. But I love to just hang out because in World Celebration is where they play the music that's like sort of the theme of the park. And that is a very immersive thing for me. Like at the top of the episode, how we were talking about, I love these soundtracks that are really inspirational. I actually looked up who wrote the music, the theme music that plays now. It's a wonderful composer named Pinar Toprak. I messaged her. I was like, Your writing is incredible. Thank you so much for this gift that is in Epcot right now. And I love whenever I'm walking in the gates or anywhere around World Showcase, there's just this theme and there's no lyrics, it's just music, but it just fills me with so much purpose that like I get chills just thinking about it because it's so good.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's great. And already we've talked about, I mean, we've gone at length about how great these things are. I mean, God, you're gonna have the best day at Epcot. Do not skip Epcot. Come on, don't skip Epcot. World Showcase has two of the best attractions. Frozen and Remy are, I'm gonna say what I say, better than pretty much, no, not every, better than most non-height requirement rides at Magic Kingdom. Everybody loves, Magic Kingdom, and obviously you have to go there. But like Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Peter Pan, Frozen and Remy, better than Peter Pan. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
two of the
Yeah.
best young non-height requirement rides in all of Disney World, Frozen and Remy. Absolutely, with it, hands down, no question. They're at Epcot in World Showcase. You're gonna get all of this done. You're gonna experience the walk-up spontaneity. You're gonna eat around World Showcase. You're gonna have some bomb food, and then you're probably still going to have some time to re-ride things that maybe have an unexpectedly low wait time. Like, oh, you guys, Soarin' only has a 20-minute wait. We have some time. Let's go ride it again. That can happen. Not on Lightning Lane. You can only do that Lightning Lanes once per attraction, of course, but you're going to have some spare time in the evening to do these things. Hit what you missed, rewrite things you loved, do a little bit of shopping. Like, the best souvenirs come from Epcot, right? So great. And then you're going to end your night with a subpar fireworks show of Luminous.
Oh,
Lies.
God.
Lies. Lies, lies, lies. Not lies that you're going to end it there, but it's pretty inspiring. It is the third in terms of ranking the nighttime shows available at Disney World.
There are only 3, Becki.
It is, I know.
It is
I know.
third. It is third out of 3.
It is third out of 3, but it is still so inspiring and so beautiful. And we're going to get you to fall in love with it next week.
Oh, God.
There's a
I'm not
line
going.
in that
I'm
show.
going to Guardian. I'm going back to Guardians while y'all watch it. Me and Stacy.
There's a line in the show where they say, how miraculous that we exist on this planet at the same time, and yet it's the human connection that unifies us. And every time that line
chills.
is read, yeah, instant chills. I'm there, I'm looking at whoever I'm with, and I'm like, we are here together. And
I love that.
We have our podcast.
Yeah, no, I love that sentiment. Like, I'm not a stone, you guys. I like the sentiment. I just
heart is black.
when I watched it and I heard that line, my immediate thought was, Disney's like trying to make me cry right now. Like, they're trying to evoke emotion, but it's not happening organically. Like, you watch Happily Ever After and you're bawling because it's just genuine Disney pulling out of you. It's like everything you love about the sentiments that they're trying to create with Luminous. Like, I felt the effort in Luminous. It wasn't effortless.
Cannot disagree more. There must have been something in the water because you and Stacy both thought that day. And you took away from that situation, both of you having that same feeling. And I've never walked away feeling anything less than inspired by that show. And I've seen it at least 5 times. And Carla came to our side. So I'm certain that you need to give it another try from a different angle.
I think what makes Luminous different from other fireworks spectaculars that Disney does is it is very much, Disney wants to give you the Disney magic. Luminous addresses topics life, love, and loss. And loss is a topic that we don't necessarily associate with, I want to feel this on a Disney vacation, right? So it was risky of the showrunners to include the topic of loss in, a fireworks show. And maybe that's why there's a little bit of an aversion of feeling like they're trying to make me cry. But I also want to respect that they took the risk of addressing loss on such a broad scope.
Yeah. Because when I think back on my life, some of my best bonding moments was the outcome of great loss. And obviously we're getting very sentimental in that situation. But
so then I guess we can all agree that He Lives in You is the greatest Disney musical song of all time. And it will connect you to your loss in an organic way. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate the backing. We have come full circle. Could not agree with you more. This is amazing.
You're too funny.
I want to do a Lightning Lane Okay. I
Yep.
want to do a lightning lane, and we have no Stacy today. So we're actually going to use the multi-pass lane. We're going to go fast through. We're skipping the lines. I want fast answers. We're going to go Becki, then Katie the whole way down. Are you ready?
I am, but wouldn't it be really funny if Stacy, because she has control of this, edited in a bunch of like dead space to make it seem like you were thinking?
She literally holds the key. She could do
Yes,
whatever she wants to this
we love
segment.
you, Stacy.
She could literally, she could make us sound insane. But thank you for not doing that. But maybe she will. I don't know. We'll see. I guess let's see what this sounds like when we get it back. Okay, are you ready? Becki, you're going first. So, and I want fast. Okay? The ride is not going to break down. Best place to take a picture with Spaceship Earth.
Over in the land pavilion, across the water, so that the reflection of Spaceship Earth is like on the water in the land area.
Pretty.
I like that. I would just say at the front, but you have to get it at a certain time of day. Like if you're there during golden hour, it looks amazing. If you're there at the front of the park, like towards the beginning of the day, like you're going to have a whole bunch of people in your shot. So I would say at the front of the park, but certain times.
I like if you're walking to the left of Spaceship Earth, there's the guest services building. And right before you get there, there's sort of an up ramp. And if you go there, it's less populated. It's like on your way to the bubblegum wall. It's less populated.
Yeah.
And if you get an up angle, you get just Spaceship Earth with the beautiful sky. And I have so many pictures right there of just the ball. It's so great. Love it. Okay, best hidden gem in Epcot.
For me, that's definitely the live music. I love Eat to the Beat. I love every festival brings some version of live music. So the Arts Festival is going to have the Disney Broadway live shows happening. It's in the US Pavilion, and I'm there every single time I can be there.
Katie,
You don't need Stacy to add in dead space. This is going to be hard.
are you kidding
I'm
me
sorry.
right now?
Okay, so best hidden gem in Epcot. Is it a remarkable boat ride? No. I think I actually think it is Living with the Land because I love everything about that ride. I think it's really interesting, the edutainment angle of it. I feel like it's an underrated attraction. I'm going with Living with the Land.
And there's several hidden Mickeys in Living with the Land.
Yeah. It's hard to say what's a hidden gem in Epcot. I guess maybe the characters, if I'm being really honest. Like, that's not my favorite part of Epcot, but I think it is a bit of a hidden gem that the character interactions are so wonderful there. It's underestimated. Okay, this is fast. I don't want him on. Best quick and table service meal. Go.
I'm going to say Connections for quick service and table service. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Beer Garden. Allie is literally going to have to roll her eyes at me on this because neither of those are her answer.
Okay, I'm going to go with Sunshine Seasons for quick service. And for table service, I'm also going to stay in the Land Pavilion and go with Garden Grill because you know I love that one.
Ugh, I changed my mind. I'm not going to Epcot with either of you next week. Okay, quick service is the place in the Mexico Pavilion, the cantina. And table service is Via Napoli. Oh, I don't even know if that's my real answer. That was just my quick answer. Okay, best place to, I already said that. Oh no, best place to get a selfie in Epcot.
I think in the Japan Pavilion, looking towards Spaceship Earth. So
Yeah.
in the Japan Pavilion facing the water. Yes.
Yeah, the frame in the Japan Pavilion just completely frames Spaceship Earth if you get to the right angle of it. And maybe that's actually the answer for the best place to take a picture with Spaceship Earth. Because that is the most beautiful view. You get the water, you get the no people, you get everything. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say the exact same thing. You can't really beat that framing in the Japan Pavilion.
Yeah, but also the bubblegum wall. Which world are you spending most of your time in?
World Showcase for me.
World Showcase for me as well.
I think it's World Discovery for me. I spend a lot of time up in that area towards Mission Space and Guardians.
Favorite photo pass location?
I love the circle vision one right in front of the park, really. Like you can put your family around it and it captures everyone and it captures the Spaceship Earth behind you. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that one. I was gonna say the spot in the France Pavilion, like in front of the fountain by Remy back there. I think that's a really good
Yeah,
one.
they make you like look shocked and then they photo edit Remy into your photo. It's really fun. It's like you're running after him. I just want to say, make sure you really stop and ask the photo pass people when you're in Epcot, especially at the front of the park, if they have any special shots because they always have something cool going on. So the 360 one that Becki just mentioned, sometimes they also have this rainbow one where you get to like wave a wand and it creates this really cool color effect. I was there last year and I don't know if this is still there, but that's the reason I say always ask your PhotoPass photographers because they're always doing cool things at the front of Epcot. But they had this Mickey bubble shot and it's one of my favorite pictures of me with PhotoPass where like you blew a bubble and it came out Mickey shaped like in the photo. So there's just always really cool things. And I don't ever just take your picture at Epcot. Ask, do you have any cool filters or PhotoPass opportunities?
I love the one that they have that tends to be seasonal. It flips around depending on what's happening. That they put it in your hands and you like blow, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it like creates confetti or it creates hearts if you're around Valentine's Day. It's such a fun one.
Oh yeah, I love that. Okay, what is the most valuable time of day at Epcot? Rope drop, midday, or close of park? Just one answer.
Close of park for me. I love seeing Spaceship Earth glowing and taking in everything while I'm seeing that in the backdrop.
I agree. I like the close of park time where you have more of that, everyone's settling in for the evening. Some people are hanging out around World Showcase, grabbing a spot for the show. Like you can hit a lot of rides in that time as well, but I like the ambiance at that time.
Yeah, I'm going to say in terms of value, it's going to be actually rope drop, yeah. Because you're going to get a lot done and you're going to have the rest of your day for freedom for the exploration. Mm-hmm. And last question, favorite ride photo in Epcot?
It has to be Guardians.
It's not Frozen?
There's no other
Frozen,
answer.
Are you sure?
No. I feel like Frozen, you get too much of other people in the picture. Like you get other families. Guardians, having like your hair wrapped around the front of your face. It's...
Frozen is hilarious because there's nothing exciting happening and you get the photo back and people are literally like stoic. They're just like jaw open, looking around, like there's nothing great going on. And then Guardians, it's literally you can't see your face because your hair is Guardians photos are the funniest photos ever.
Yeah, the Guardians photo is the best because we laugh at them because like you can't tell that's Allie in that seat. That could be cousin It. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm so thrilled with this episode because I think it's going to be so helpful. I just want people to not underestimate how wonderful Epcot is, how you can really master it by using Lightning Lane, by using strategies. And I know that that is an overwhelming part of planning, but I hope this episode and all of our Lightning Lane episodes help you feel like it doesn't need to be so stressful and truly can be the thing that saves your vacation. That is going to do it for us on the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.
Switch it back?
Maybe.
Okay, I'm going to switch it back real quick then.
The things that people don't realize, like the kind of chair that you're sitting in apparently matters on what kind of podcast you're going to produce.
Can you imagine having to listen to that squeak the whole time and then having to edit that squeak out?
As we see Katie try to hold absolutely still, no movement, no squeaky noises.
She's like completely stoic like this. We're like, Katie, you're frozen. She's like, no, I just can't move because of my chair. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Yeah.